Salvete omnes. If you'd like to support the channel along with these patrons, I'd really appreciate the support. There's a link in the description box below. In this lesson, we're going to revisit the passive tense. We explored this tense a little in the lesson on paternoster, but we'll go into more depth here. First of all, let's figure out exactly what the passive tense is. Look at the next two sentences. I pick up the apple. The apple is picked up by me. They describe the exact same action, but in the first sentence, the subject, I, is actively doing the action. And in the second sentence, the subject is the apple, and the action is being done to it. The one doing the action, me, is just added on the end and isn't even needed. In passive sentences, we can just say, the apple is picked up, without any mention of who or what actually did the action. And notice, the passive form in English is kind of weird. We add is and put the verb in the past tense. So pick up becomes is picked up. Latin uses conjugation, as you might expect. Let's look at how the following sentence changes. Servus aquam portat. The slave carries water. Aqua portatur. The water is carried. The verb portat gets its last vowel lengthened and the ending ur added to it, making it portatur. Notice, not only did the verb change, but aquam changed to aqua, because as we saw earlier, the object becomes the subject. And Latin reflects this change, much more obviously than English does. And if we want to add by the slave, we use the following construction. Aqua a servo portatur. The water is carried by the slave. As you may have guessed, the noun following a is declined in the ablative case. Try a sentence for yourself now. Change the following sentence into the passive form. The girl sees the boy. Puella puerum videt. Puer a puella videtur. The boy is seen by the girl. In the next sentence, try to guess the new word. Liber a puero capitur. The book is picked up by the boy. Do you see the connection between capitur and capture? That's where this English word comes from. And in Latin, it can also mean to take or hold. Can you guess what this sentence would be in active form? Puer librum capit. And can you figure out what the next sentence means? Ab omnibus amatur. He or she is loved by everyone. Omnibus is the plural ablative form of omnis, whose plural form is omnes, as we know from the beginning of each video. This is a third declension noun. Note also that when the following word begins with a vowel sound, a changes to ab. However, ab can be used at any time. Here's another third declension noun. A parentibus amor. I am loved by my parents. For first person, the O gets shortened and just an R is added. So this is sort of the opposite of the third person case. The only problem is that there is no pattern for when the vowel is shortened or lengthened, but it is more important that we can understand this form when we read than to know every conjugation exactly. And as you can see in this chart, many of the endings end in ur. There are some words that don't have a passive form because it doesn't really make sense to put them in passive form. For example, dormio does not have a passive form because saying he is sleeped makes no sense. And some words like laboro only have a third person passive form, since the other cases don't really make sense. But if you're like me, you were probably told throughout your schooling to never use the passive form, to always convert sentences into active form. So why do we need to learn this form? Because it actually has a lot of use and power. We can describe an action without stating who performed it, and in this way we can put emphasis on the recipient of the action. Thus, many great lines from literature are written in the passive form, like the following. Nihil sine labore mortalibus datur. Nothing is given to mortals without effort. Here, nothing is emphasized much more than if we said, they give nothing to mortals without effort. The word sans in English, meaning without, came from French, but was derived from this word, sine. For the next sentence, if you recall, we learned that ducere means to lead, like an air duct. Non ducor, duco. I am not led, I lead. And what do you think this means? De te fabula narratur. Of yourself the tale is told. Remember, this word de is what eventually replaced the genitive form in Vulgar Latin. So here it means of. And fabula is where the word fable came from. So the end is like saying, the fable is narrated. Next we have arbor a fructibus cognoscitur. A tree is known by its fruit. The Latin word for fruit is fructus. Nice, huh? And the word recognosco means recognize. So recalling that re means again, cognosco means come to know or learn. And let's end with an irregular verb. The verb facio, meaning to do or make, loses the AC in the passive form and is in the next sentence. Ex nihilo nihil fit. Nothing comes from nothing, or nothing is made from nothing. Irregular verbs need to be learned through lots of repetition. And fortunately, they are all common words, so we don't need to worry about not encountering them enough. Just remember to pay attention when they do pop up. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too complicated and that you'll be able to recognize some of the forms, because many great lines and mottos are written in the passive form, as we just saw. And you'll need to know this form pretty early on if you're reading any of the books I mentioned in the Latin Resources video. See you next time. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and if you can, help support the channel on Patreon, where there are audio downloads and transcripts of each dialogue and story. Gratias!